last RPM programme covering the Adelaide Masters series, we featured the Superbikes. This week we turn our attention to the Supersport 600s. They may be 160 as opposed to 210 brake horsepower, but they're lighter, accelerate quicker, so around this tight Mondello National Circuit there's little difference in lap times. Big names have been rolling into the Mondello paddock this week, and Jack Kennedy's Appleyard outfit is just as impressive as anyone's. Dubliner Jack is just back from Donington after getting a wildcard ride in the World Championship Supersport race.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. We learned a lot from it. We didn't get to finish the race, unfortunately, due to tyre problems, but a lot learned and a lot of information for when we're there later on in the championship with the British, so I'm looking forward to it.
Conditions are not good for the first 12-lap Supersport 600 race on Sunday morning. Jack Kennedy, as expected, is on pole position in the Yamaha, with Gary Jeffers from Cookstown alongside him on a similar bike. That is Johnny Buckley, also on an R6 Yamaha, and Richie Ryan from Carrigean on a Triumph Daytona.
So as Plum says, decidedly tricky conditions here at Mondello Park. And just look at the surface. The rain may be gone, but it's certainly very greasy out there, Jim.
Yeah, and Jack Kennedy gets the benefit of all these experience and swoops into the lead on this one.
Yeah, it'll be hard to see him being beaten here, but there's a lot of talented riders behind him as well. Really want to have a go here and knock him from his perch.
Yeah, a lot of guys here, Leo, with a point to prove, and at the front, it looks like it's Keith Farmer just takes a slide off to the ground, so Keith Farmer, the Dungannon man, down on the ground.
Probably not the first one we'll see off in this race. It does look very, very greasy out there. Incredibly, Jeffers has taken Kennedy with a good run through Adelaide Corner on the way down to Bridgestone, and he now leads.
That's a brave move from Gary Jeffers. Jack Kennedy, huge experience. Gary Jeffers, I think, is probably only his second year racing, so a big, brave manoeuvre from Gary Jeffers there.
Great stuff for him in front of the television cameras here, but Kennedy very much the complete package. Doesn't need to fight early on. Very, very composed rider, and I'm sure he doesn't mind if somebody leads in the early laps.
No, and a great result there from Robbie Lanigan in third position. Robbie Lanigan from Santry on the green and black Yamaha R6, having a great run in third position.
Kennedy thinking about a look up the inside, but Jeffers good and late on the brakes, does get it turned in. Great stuff from Jeffers, but Kennedy threatening, looking already there in second place.
And Kennedy's got the experience. He'll sit back and let the race come to him, but back at the front it's still Gary Jeffers, Jack Kennedy and Robbie Lanigan. A fantastic third position again from Robbie Lanigan.
Yeah, Jeffers and Lanigan going really well here. We would have expected Kennedy to disappear into the distance. He really is a complete package, as we said, and doing a lot of racing abroad as well this year, Jim.
Last weekend, Leo, he was in the Supersport World Championship at Donington, and just as we say that, Jeffers has a bit of a moment and Jack Kennedy uses the opportunity, just slips past.
Yeah, we saw last week on RPM how difficult it was for some of the big bikes to balance the power in dry conditions, but these guys have got twice the problem.
Yeah, Leo, the wet conditions are really tricky in Mondello. Slow turns make it really difficult to get traction coming out of them. Tyres play a huge part in this. A big mix of tyres, Dunlop, Bridgestone, Michelin, everyone involved in this class. And Jack Kennedy on the Appleyard Yamaha R6 is running on Pirellis. These are the tyres he used in the World Championship and in the British Championship. So Jack Kennedy, huge experience on this rubber.
Of course, tyre choice is important to set up here, Jim. So they're all running on wet weather tyres. Tell us about them.
They've got big chunks of rubber, Leo, that move around quite a lot. It generates a load of heat, dissipates the water and brings the tyre temperature up really quickly. In the dry conditions, these tyres wouldn't last 2 laps, but in these tricky wet conditions, they will probably do 50 laps here, no problem.
And the riders using those wet tyres now as much as they can, and Robbie Lanigan there in third place, just squeezing on the power, and in fact getting out of shape, and off he goes again at turn 2, and that's what we spoke about. It's just so tricky out there, even with wet weather tyres and wet weather setup.
Just as he's coming in, Leo, the back end breaks loose. He's too early on the gas, it throws him over the top, bike lands on top of him and he slides off unharmed. So that's one good thing about the wet conditions, you tend to slide off and not really get injured.
Yeah, he's straight back up on his feet, no problem. Kennedy's still way out in front. And how much of this is down to setup? I know we'd expect Kennedy to be up front, but surely they've got to change quite a lot in the bike. Traction control, tyres, what else can they change?
Soften the suspension makes a huge difference to get the tyre to dig into the tarmac. It really pushes it, forces the tyre down into the tarmac, generates a lot of heat and the tyre pulls away. Jack has ridden this bike for, this is probably his third year to ride this same machine, so no one knows this bike or track better than Jack Kennedy.
Yeah, he really is a class act, and we've seen him before have a go at some of the bigger bikes on RPM, so he really is going well here. We expect him to do this. He was led early on by Jeffers, took his time, made that place on the way down to Bridgestone, and just beginning to ease away from the rest now.
Yeah, and it looks like Jordan Bonner's the man on the move here. Jordan right on the back of Gary Jeffers, both on the Yamahas. Jordan on the white bike with the pink stripe on his helmet, so Jordan the man on the move here.
A good battle now developing, as you said, for second place. Jordan Bonner having come up well and closed in on Jeffers now, and that's the battle on track at the moment here at Mondello Park as Jack Kennedy continues to ease away out front.
And it's Chris Thompson on the ground, Leo. The Triumph 675 man bites the dust at Dunlop turn.
Yeah, just a little bit late in the brakes, the front end getting away from him there, no problem, but I don't think he's going to get back. He looks distraught with that one. Here they come now again down into turn one. A load of different lines being taken as they spread out across the track on the braking point there. And in fact, Terry Bradley beginning to close in on this one.
And Jordan Bonner dives off, so the curse of the commentator again. Poor Jordan Bonner dives on the ground. What a bad result for poor Jordan.
Really tricky conditions. They've just got to wait so long before they can feed the power in. And even some of these experienced riders now in trouble out there.
Jordan, front runner at the Cup last year, and obviously he's paid the price at the front of it this year.
Look at Kennedy, just looks so composed. He's not getting the bike out of shape, the back end not moving around, but even so, he's increasing his gap every single lap as he pulls away from the pack. Bradley now closing in on this battle for second place. Terry Bradley going very well in these conditions.
Yeah, Terry on the blue and yellow Yamaha R6, on the PB Racing Yamaha R6. We didn't recognise Terry earlier on because this is his wet bike, Leo. He's got a second machine just for the wet conditions.
Okay, explain that to us. Why would you have two bikes?
The second bike will be, as a wet bike, will be set up in a really soft sort of suspension. The engine wouldn't be quite as aggressive, so it'd be slightly easier to ride. And he's proven that he's the class of the field on this one. There's
Andrew Courtney just being passed on the brakes by 32. Carl Phillips. Phillips now coming out of turn one. Back end gets away again. It's just treacherously slippy. It seems to be turn one and turn two, Jim, where all the action is happening.
I think, Leo, maybe the curse of the commentators is catching on to some of these guys too. Maybe we won't be so popular in future.
Well, Phillips trying to get that bike back up and rejoin. Doesn't look like there was too much damage. Relatively low speed shunt that he should be able to get back on.
Yeah, but back at the front, it's Jack Kennedy easing out a huge lead. He's probably got 8 or 9 seconds to lead at this stage. This guy's a World Championship rider, and it shows. The other guys here are amateurs, mostly amateurs. Gary Jeffers, a well-prepared machine. Gary, not a lot of experience. Terry Bradley, huge amount of experience. Wouldn't quite have the budget that the Kennedy outfit would be running under.
Yeah, he's using that experience, Bradley, to just gradually haul in Gary Jeffers now. And of course, you can't get excited, you can't wind on the power like we've seen them do in the dry. It's almost like walking on eggshells trying to go quick on a bike in these conditions.
Yeah, Terry's got a lot of experience. Terry spent a lot of time living in Spain and racing in Spain as well. So Terry Bradley from Santry, huge talent.
Big batch coming up to Dunlop now. It's Mark Conlon leading Farmer, Chris Elkin right in there too, and Thomas Maxwell at the back of that group. And in fact, Maxwell just gets on the power too early out of Dunlop corner. Back end gets away, but he looks like he's okay. He's up. I wonder, can he rejoin?
We should give him a bucket and spade, Leo. Get him a play.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to get back. Indeed, he does get back on. And in fact, the leaders should be due round now because these guys were very much in the midfield. But rejoins, and here come the leaders now. And he's looking down at the bike. This could be a little bit dangerous.
And one goes each side of him, Leo, so close stuff at the front of this field here.
Really is, yeah, and he just managed to get out of the way, but doing it all right, just trying to get offline and stay out of these guys' way. And look at Bradley now on the brakes. Looks quite comfortable at this stage, beginning to get the bike to move around. First guy we've seen pushing quite hard in these conditions. Yeah,
Terry seems to be quite happy with the bike moving around. That probably stems back to his motocross days with the bike going sideways and backways. And that's not to take away from Gary Jeffers. A great result from Gary Jeffers here on the Yamaha, the black and red Yamaha R6. Gary riding really composed, not putting a foot wrong here.
Yeah, two very different riding styles there. Jeffers looking very smooth and composed, but behind him Bradley pushing very hard, really wants that second place, and as you said, beginning to get the bike to move around, just getting a feeling for it as they come up to mid-race. Any chance these wet tyres might go off, do you think, towards the end?
No, Leo, you really need a dry line around here. The race is not long enough. There's no dry line forming. There's still spray coming up from the back wheels of the bikes, so no chance of the tyre going off, I don't think.
Very equally matched considering how different the riding styles are, and again so smooth that time. Jefferson gets a little bit of a better run, increases his lead out of Dunlop, and that should help him down the back straight as they see the last lap flag now.
Yeah, I'd say Terry's looking over the pit wall at his brother, shaking his fist at him to hurry up. So Terry under huge pressure from the PB Racing outfit, and a fantastic result in third position.
Yeah, he'll be giving them a good repayment with this one, and again he's getting the back end to move around. But I think Jeffers' smoother style perhaps paying dividends a little bit better in this one, certainly in the closing stages now. Jeffers, who doesn't look like he's trying as hard, is beginning to inch away.
back markers take the last lap flag, but here comes the winner, Jack Kennedy, with impressive victory in this one.
Great stuff from Jack Kennedy. Did it all early on and just inched away. Really a class act. We're waiting for Gary Jeffers to come down and see if he can hang on for second place. He does, from Bradley, Hoey and Sean Hurley.
And a really impressive result there from Sean Hurley, the first of the Bridgestone runners, in 5th position.
A masterclass on the treacherously wet conditions from Jack Kennedy and the 3 riders who made the podium.
That's it, I love the wet, you know me, Jim. But we just go out there and go on with it and see what happened during the race and let everyone make their own mistakes, and we took it home in 3rd place, nice and safe.
We got good enough start, and it's just hard to know how hard to push, you know, in the first lot of laps. But we got a good rhythm and kept it upright was the main thing, and got a good result.
Delighted to get the win. It was tricky conditions out there, and staying on was the main part, but finding out where the slippy part was interesting. Delighted with the win, yeah.
I told you they were nimble. We're back after the break for our second Supersport 600 feature, so refuel and join us then. It's not just the professionals and semi-professionals who come away with the prizes here at the Adelaide Masters Series, as the Bridgestone Cup caters for the national level in a competition within the competition.
The Bridgestone Cup caters for the amateurs. It's a very competitive class. We have controlled tyres, which makes the racing a little bit more, well, you're not just up with the big boys, but you always have a good race with all the in-betweeners. Many years ago I wanted to take it up and the opportunity just wasn't there, and the opportunity presented itself a couple of years ago, so sort of a bit of a midlife crisis I suppose, but that was the motivation behind it.
The big Bridgestone Cup Supersport winner over the weekend was Sean Hurley.
There are 3 wins now this weekend, so happy enough really. It's good to have 3 wins from 3 starts. I was here for this championship last year and I had a lot of bad luck with it really. I was kind of down the road every weekend I was up here, so it's nice to be coming back to myself really.
After their wet 10-lapper in the morning, the Supersport 600 riders have a dry road for their 12-lap race in the afternoon. No change at the front, however, as Jack Kennedy has his Yamaha R6 on pole. Gary Jeffers is alongside in another Yamaha. Then Richie Rand's Triumph Daytona splits the Yamahas on the front row, with Keith Farmer's R6 next fastest in qualifying for the second Supersports race of the day. We have an onboard camera on Jordan Bonner's bike.
getting ready to go now, and everybody will be really trying to have a go at Jack Kennedy in this one. The red lights are on.
The drier conditions, Leo, might suit some of the other riders that slipped off earlier.
Yeah, Jeffers will fancy his chances here. He led Kennedy early on, remember, he'll want to have a go in the dry, but they tend to all go at each other. Oh, Bonner getting dropped back into the pack now. It's very crowded.
Yeah, Jeffers got ahead, but he pulled second gear.
It's some tough moves there, Leo, so maybe a few words later in the paddock.
All arms and elbows, but here they come, and it's Kennedy at the front as we expected, and in fact it looks like Lanigan it is in second place as they go through Adelaide corner and head down the straight to Bridgestone.
Yeah, it's Robbie Lanigan, the man who slipped off earlier. Obviously that hasn't affected his confidence, and he's in second position, so great start from Robbie Lanigan. It looks like it's Richie Ryan on the 3-cylinder Triumph 675. That's the red and white bike in third position there, Leo.
Unusual machine, but Lanigan looking like he can possibly threaten Kennedy. We've seen this before. They tend to scrabble amongst each other to try and have a go at the quick guy, and they'll end up holding each other up. But Lanigan right with Kennedy now on the run up to Dunlop. On board again. Jim, talk us through this on the way up to Dunlop.
So back up the gears, and then just as he hits the brow here, Leo, he's back down 2 gears for Dunlop turn. Turns in tight, just clips the apex, and as you clip the apex, hard on the gas down the start-finish straight.
Great stuff, as indeed they all are now on the start finish straight. Kennedy beginning to ease away. Look at the back end of Kennedy's bike twitching, and in fact to move for second place. Is that Jeffers up to second place?
No, Leo, that's Richie Ryan on the 675. That's the unique sounding 3-cylinder machine, so anyone that comes along to Mondello Park, fantastic sounding machine, this Triumph.
Well, good move there, last of the late breakers down the inside. This is what we spoke about. They begin to scrap against each other, and that lets Kennedy ease away in the early stages.
He's got the experience, Leo. He knows what these guys are like. He'll play with them for 1 or 2 laps. His tyres come up to temperature. He'll pull 2 seconds a lap on them after that.
Yeah, he seems to have loads in reserve, but doesn't get out of shape. Uses the head when he's out there as well. And as we saw in the last race, doesn't have to lead all the time. Somebody else wants to lead early on. He just bide his time and pick his way by them. But he's beginning to stretch out that lead now as they come up the hill in much better conditions than the earlier race to Dunlop corner, and a full wide line for him. Doesn't have to defend as the rest still scrabble away behind.
Yeah, and Gary Jeffers just dives up the inside of Robbie Lanigan just in Dunlop there. So Robbie Lanigan, a man slipping back down the field, started off really good in second position and seems to be sliding down the leaderboard at the moment.
Yeah, I wonder if he got the wrong settings or something on that bike. As you said, looked very, very quick. The first lap on cold tyres looked like he could challenge Kennedy, but he's beginning to fall back into the pack. On board again with Bonner now out of turn 3, Bridgestone corner. Waiting to get on the power, trying to have a go at somebody in front. You can see as we go back on board with him during the race, the tyres are up to temperature. He's more aggressive on the throttle, more aggressive on the brakes, and here he comes now down into Mazda, the off-camber left-hand corner, just trying to make up a few lengths on that bike in front.
A really tricky place to pass here, Leo. It's off-camber going into the left-hander, very easy to lose the front.
Here they come up to Dunlop now, and he's going to fire it down the inside. Indeed he does. Nice tidy manoeuvre there, Jim.
Well done, Leo, and I think the commentator's curse has slipped away from us this one, so Jordan's escaped our curse.
Yeah, beginning to push on. It was a nice move at Dunlop corner. Very hard to get the bike stopped and then get it banked in and get a clean run on the exit as we saw earlier. But here's Kennedy all on his own, out of turn 3 now. And of course, a lot of racing for him in the UK. It's big family support for him as well.
Jack brings his whole family. His mum, his dad and his sister go everywhere with Jack. He races the World Championship, British Championship. I think if you set a race anywhere, the Kennedys will be there. Fantastic family and couldn't be nicer to deal with. Jack, the ultimate professional in motorsport.
And for all these other guys that are out there, for Ryan and Jeffers and Lanigan, it's great to have somebody like that to mark themselves again, somebody that they know is quick and competitive, so they can go back and have a go at him. And that's probably part of all the excitement you see in the early laps as they scrabble to get up with him.
It's great. These guys are really enthused to see a championship runner, like a front-running championship runner from those big championships on the same grid as them. They'll be trying to see the level that they're at. They know they can't beat them, but they're going to try.
Keith Farmer now, it looks like, in the black and white machine there on the move. He's displaced Lanigan, that is, and he's up to catching on this path for second place perhaps now. So let's keep an eye on Farmer.
Yeah, Keith's a newcomer really to the Irish Road Racing Series. And just as we say that, Richie Ryan gets done over by Gary Jeffers into turn 3 there, Leo. So Gary Jeffers, the man, back on the move again. It's
a brave move on the exit of the entrance of Bridgestone corner, the quickest corner on the track, the first apex. Just a kink right really before the heavy right, and to get by there is pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, Gary took the bull by the horns and jumped on him there, definitely. Richie Ryan wasn't prepared for that at all.
Ryan's got more to worry about now because the charging Farmer right behind him as they come up the hill to Dunlop corner, the black and white bike there. He's got rid of those two. He's got rid of Lanigan. He's ahead of him, and he's definitely the man on the move at the moment.
Yeah, and it looks like Alistair Kirk has come from a group behind, and he's beginning to challenge Robbie Lanigan at the back of his field on the yellow bike. Alistair Kirk.
So Farmer, the one we're watching there, the third place bike in this group, the black and white bike there at Adelaide Corner, and he gets a run now again on the way to turn 2. He fell off in the wet earlier on, but he looks very composed and very happy with the bike in these dry conditions.
Yeah, Leo, this kid is full of confidence. If there's anything, he's got loads of confidence. The Farmer family, well known in Irish racing circles. Mark Farmer, Stephen Farmer, and now we have Keith Farmer. These were all superstars, and there's no reason this guy won't be a superstar as well.
Certainly looks every inch of it there as he has to go around the outside at Mazda Corner, makes it stick at turn 2. Incredible stuff. Now that's a brave manoeuvre and perfectly executed.
Richie Ryan definitely done over a second time, not expecting that one at all, and a really, really brave manoeuvre from Keith Farmer through there.
Unusual, didn't really set that up on the way into Mazda, did it halfway through, stayed on the power around the outside and just had the line for the second bit. Here's Jack Kennedy out in front, nothing to worry about for him. I'm sure he's getting his pit signals and he's controlling the gap, but what a great battle, and Farmer's come from way back, remember. This is great stuff from him.
Yeah, I think maybe the slip off earlier probably knocked his confidence earlier in the race. Now he realises that he can do it, and Gary Jeffers is going to get a real punch up with Keith Farmer in this one.
Yeah, Farmer very quick through Adelaide Corner, so getting on the power quite early going through that gives him a good run on the way down to Bridgestone, and now he's right with him as they come back up the hill now and head towards Mazda one more time.
Definitely, Leo. Keith Farmer is a bog standard engine in this Yamaha R6, so he's really riding out of his skin on this one.
Well, he looks like he might be trying to manoeuvre again. Indeed he is, right round the outside again, and a big twitch on the bike just doesn't bother him. I think we're going to call that the Farmer manoeuvre from now on. It's fantastic. Round the outside, has the line for turn 2, and he's up to second place.
That's really impressive. I haven't seen that, Leo. I've seen a lot of people around Mondello Park, and that's a really unique and new manoeuvre from there.
As you were just saying, a bog standard engine, he doesn't need that. That's just pure bravery round the outside. Again, we're on board, and this is a great shot coming down into Mazda Corner. Banked over to the left, back on the gas through the right-hander. Of course, not flat on any of these bikes, this right-hand corner.
Definitely not. But just have a listen to that engine.
Here they come again. This is Farmer, and he's beginning to ease away. And I wonder would he have the pace to challenge Kennedy. I'm sure now Kennedy has eased off at the front, but Farmer's been mightily impressive in this one. And he hasn't really got involved in battles, Jim. As soon as he's got somebody, he's just picked them off and he's gone. Yeah,
Leo, he's not hesitating. The minute he catches them, he passes them. He doesn't sit back, suss them out to see what they're like. He just dives under it. That's a young bull. He's in the field and he's doing his job. Yeah, it really looks like it, almost standing up on the bike as it begins to move round there at Mazda Corner. They're beginning to encounter some back markers now, but that shouldn't hold him back because he has the pace to get away there. In fact, there's Lanigan, who's fallen well back. You remember, he was the guy that was on Jack Kennedy's back wheel in the early stages, so maybe the setup on his bike not quite right. He was indeed. He slipped off earlier, Leo, so maybe he's got some damage that we don't know about, but he's having a great battle there with Alistair Kirk. Here's Kennedy now at Adelaide Corner. Beautiful stuff from him, and the bike turned out immaculately as always. Farmer up to second place, the real winner in this one, the charger of the pack, having come up so well on those beautiful manoeuvres. On board again now with Bonner on the main straight. Just look at the speed of this machine. As late as he can go now, down on the brakes, down into turn 1, and throwing gears at it. Should that not upset the back of the bike? No, Leo, the slipper clutch take care of all the engine braking through the back tyre, so it basically keeps the machine in line. Some of the guys you'll find will have a slipper clutch that allows the back end to come out. Jack Kennedy now at Adelaide Corner, back marker in his way, but the gap is so big it doesn't really matter. He can control that. Even watching his pit board, as Jim says, he's very professional. And what about that for a last of the late breaker manoeuvres there from Bonner going up into Dunlop Corner as he begins to push up through the pack. There's no shortage of bravery on that onboard camera anyway, Leon, that's for sure. It really isn't. He came from way back in that one. And Farmer, in fact, perhaps dropping back slightly here, Jim, as they encounter as the back markers. He has to go right round the outside of Bridgestone Corner. Well, that's a brave manoeuvre from Keith Farmer, and the loser on that one is Gary Jeffers, so the back markers definitely cost Gary Jeffers a position in this one. Yeah, it looked like he had just crawled his way back up to Farmer's tail there, but that always happens with back markers. Not so much for Kennedy. He did a Farmer on him there around the outside of that back marker. No, it's a masterclass here from Jack Kennedy. On board again with Bonner. Good sound from that bike as he heads over the crest, the bike almost lifting. Checkered flag now as Jack Kennedy comes down to take another win at Mondello Park. And a drag race to the line now, and Jeffers just grabs it back from Farmer at the line.
As far as the Supersport 600 has been concerned, it's been an all Jack Kennedy weekend at the Adelaide Masters. And what a close finish that was for second place.
I started off 5th and gathered my way up and got past Gary, and unfortunately come up the inside of me at the last lap in the last corner, and I got him, but it's just with a super stock bike it's just not quick enough for the 600s around here. But other than that, I was very pleased and we're learning a lot. We got new settings and that, so well pleased.
So I didn't get the best of starts, so I had a few dodgy overtaking moves, so I had but it was good now, so it was, and it was a good battle between me and Keith Farmer, so happy enough.
Great weekend and we're delighted with it. Hopefully we get back for some more, hopefully get a Superbike as I said, and challenge for the front, definitely.
The Adelaide Masters Series has gotten off to a cracking start here in Mondello. Join us on RPM in a few weeks' time for the coverage of the Supersport and Superbikes Round 2. Join us then.